The gravel crunched under my tires as I pulled into the state park lot, dust rising in soft clouds behind my 12-year-old Honda. Through the windshield, I could already see the pavilion, 3 picnic tables pushed together under a tin roof, blue and white checkered tablecloths flapping in the breeze, a banner stretched between 2 posts that read, "Welcome Family" in uneven marker strokes. Someone had brought those industrial fans that look like they belong in a warehouse. The air smelled like charcoal and cut grass. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. I sat for a moment with the engine ticking down, watching my cousin Brenda unload a tower of Tupperware from her Lexus SUV. She was wearing white linen pants. To a park. I glanced down at my own clothes. Cotton button-down, khaki shorts, $10 sandals from the discount bin. Clean, comfortable, practical. I grabbed the grocery bag from the passenger seat, store-brand chips, a watermelon I'd picked up that morning, and headed toward the noise. There she is. My Aunt Carol spotted me first, waving a pair of tongs like a flag. "We were starting to think you'd gotten lost. Just running a little behind," I said, setting the watermelon on the drinks table next to someone's cooler. Traffic was heavier than I thought. Traffic? My brother Matt appeared at my elbow, beer already in hand, even though it wasn't noon yet. "You live like 20 minutes away." 25, I said mildly. He grinned. "In that neighborhood, yeah. I forget you're still in the old place." There it was, the first little jab delivered with a smile. I'd lived in the same modest duplex for 8 years. 2 bedrooms, a narrow galley kitchen, a landlord who fixed things promptly and never raised the rent more than $50 at a time. It had a porch where I could drink my coffee in the mornings and a bus stop 2 blocks over. Everything I needed. "It works for me," I said. Matt shrugged and drifted toward the grill where my Uncle Frank was prodding burgers with the concentration of a surgeon. I took a breath and looked around. Kids were already terrorizing the playground equipment. Someone's toddler shrieking with joy on the swings, a cluster of tweens racing toward the creek. My mom sat in a folding chair under an oak tree, fanning herself with a paper plate. I made my way over and kissed her cheek. "You doing okay, Ma?" "Fine, just hot." She patted my hand. "Did you bring sunscreen? In the car? Want me to grab it?" No. Sit with me a minute." I pulled up another folding chair. The metal was already warm through my shorts. Around us, the reunion was gathering momentum. Uncle Frank flipping burgers, Brenda arranging her Tupperware empire on the food table, cousins I hadn't seen in 2 years comparing phones and talking about mortgage rates. My younger cousin Jasmine waved from across the pavilion, and I waved back. She was one of the good ones, studying nursing, worked weekends at a group home, never had a sharp word for anyone. "How's work?" my mom asked. "Same as ever, steady." I worked as a data coordinator for a mid-sized nonprofit that handled housing assistance applications. It wasn't glamorous. Lots of spreadsheets, phone calls with landlords, helping people navigate paperwork. The pay was exactly enough. My co-workers were kind. I could do most of the job with my eyes closed by now, which left my mind free for other things. Still no interest in management. Mom's tone was carefully neutral. "Not really." She nodded, but I could see the little crease between her eyebrows, the one that meant she was worrying, wondering if I was stuck, if I lacked ambition, if I'd ever want more. It was the same look I'd gotten when I'd turned down the promotion 3 years ago, the one that would have meant 60-hour weeks and a title that sounded impressive at dinner parties. "I'm happy," I said quietly. "I promise." "I know, sweetheart." She squeezed my hand. "I just want you to be happy." "I am." Across the pavilion, Brenda was holding court near the dessert table, showing off photos on her phone. I caught snatches of conversation. The contractor, imported tile, his bonus this quarter. Her husband worked in medical device sales. They'd just finished renovating their kitchen for the 3rd time in 5 years. Jasmine appeared with a tray of deviled eggs. "Can you help me carry some of this stuff?" Aunt Carol went overboard again. "Sure." We made 3 trips from Carol's minivan, hauling coolers and grocery bags and a crock pot that was still plugged into some kind of portable battery pack. Jasmine laughed when she saw my expression. "She's been meal prepping for 2 weeks. She said. "I think she's trying to make sure no one goes home hungry or conscious," I said, eyeing the sheer volume of potato salad. "We got everything arranged. I helped Carol set up the condiment station. Mustard, ketchup, relish, 3 kinds of pickles, a jar of jalapenos that Uncle Frank insisted on. Small tasks, the kind of thing you do at family gatherings because it needs doing and you have hands. Thanks, honey, Carol said, a little breathless. You always were helpful. It was a nice thing to say. I tucked it away for later, knowing I'd need it. By the time lunch rolled around, everyone had arrived. 32 people, spanning 4 generations, all crammed under that pavilion and spilling out onto the grass. Paper plates sagging under the weight of burgers and hot dogs. Pasta salad, baked beans, corn on the cob, dripping with butter, kids running in packs, aunts comparing recipes, uncles arguing about baseball with the good-natured intensity of people who've been having the same argument for 40 years. I loaded up a plate and found a spot at one of the folding tables next to Jasmine and my cousin Aaron, who taught high school math and always looked slightly exhausted. How's the school year shaping up? I asked him. Don't ask. But he smiled when he said it. We lost 2 teachers over the summer. Budget cuts. Now I'm covering an extra section. That's brutal. Yeah, well, he took a bite of his burger. At least the kids are good. Mostly. Brenda slid into the seat across from us, her plate artfully arranged with small portions of everything. She'd changed her sunglasses twice since I'd arrived. The current pair had gold accents that caught the light. So, she said brightly, looking at me. Still at the housing place? Yep, that's nice. Stable. She said it the way you'd say beige. Jeff's company is hiring, you know. If you ever wanted to try something new, they're looking for project coordinators. I'm good where I am. Oh, I'm sure. It's just, well, there's more room for growth in the private sector, you know? Better benefits, travel opportunities. She leaned forward conspiratorially. Jeff just got back from a conference in Miami. They put him up at this incredible hotel. Infinity pool, rooftop bar, the whole thing. Sounds nice, I said. Aaron gave me a look that was pure solidarity. He knew what this was. Brenda's attention shifted. Is that the same car you had at the last reunion? It is. Wow, that's definitely getting your money's worth. She laughed, but it had an edge. I don't think I could drive the same car for that long. I'd go crazy. It runs fine, I said evenly. Gets me where I need to go. Sure. I just meant, it's okay to treat yourself sometimes. Life's short. Jasmine changed the subject, asking Brenda about her kids, and the moment passed, but I felt it settle in my chest, that familiar weight, the sense of being measured and found wanting. It wasn't the first time. At the last reunion, it had been my phone, 3 models out of date, screen cracked at the corner. Before that, my lack of vacation photos on social media. Before that, the fact that I'd shown up to Thanksgiving in the same sweater I'd worn the year before. I finished my burger and excused myself, wandering toward the creek where the noise was quieter. The water was low this time of year, just a trickle over smooth stones. I crouched down and dipped my fingers in. Cold, clean, exactly what it needed to be. I thought about the email I'd gotten 2 weeks ago. A teacher named Priya from a village outside Pune. 3 paragraphs thanking me for the library corner I'd helped fund at her primary school. She'd attached a photo. 8 wooden shelves, painted bright blue, crammed with books. Kids sitting cross-legged on a rug, reading. She said they called it the Magic Corner because every week there were new stories. The shelves had cost $320. The rug, another $40. The books came from a local distributor who gave us a bulk discount. 800 volumes for just under $2,000. I'd worked double shifts for a month to make that happen. Picked up weekend data entry projects. Ate rice and beans for dinner, more times than I could count, and I'd do it again tomorrow. But I didn't talk about it. Not at reunions, not at work, not really to anyone except the handful of people I coordinated with. Other quiet donors, project leads on the ground, the rare mentor who understood why anonymity mattered. I heard footsteps behind me and turned. Jasmine. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just needed a minute. She sat down on a nearby rock. Brenda's being Brenda, I noticed. She's weird about money, Jasmine said. Always has been. I think she's scared someone's going to figure out they're not as rich as they act. I smiled despite myself. You're probably right. You know you don't have to explain yourself to them, right? I know. We sat there for a bit, listening to the creek. Then Jasmine stood up and brushed off her shorts. Come on, Carol's about to bring out her famous banana pudding, and if we don't get there fast, Matt's gonna eat half of it. God forbid. We walked back together. The afternoon heat was settling in now, thick and heavy. Someone had turned on a portable speaker, and old country music drifted across the pavilion. A few couples were starting to dance. Awkward, affectionate. The kind of thing that happens when families have been together long enough that self-consciousness fades. I got a bowl of banana pudding and stood in the shade, watching. My Uncle Frank had his arm around my Aunt Carol's waist, spinning her in a slow circle while she laughed. Good people, all of them, mostly. Flawed and human and complicated, same as anyone. But then Matt appeared at my side again, his third or fourth beer in hand. "You know what I don't get?" he said. "What's that?" "You make decent money, right? I mean, nonprofits don't pay great, but you've been there, 6 years? 8, right. So you've got to have some savings by now, but you're still," he gestured vaguely at me, as if my whole existence could be summed up in a wave of his hand. "You're still living like you're just out of college." "I live within my means," I said. "Yeah, but don't you ever want more? Like a house or a new car or, I don't know, a vacation that isn't camping?" "I like camping." He laughed. "Come on, you know what I mean. You're what, 42, 43? Right, and you're still renting a duplex. Don't you want to build equity? Have something that's yours?" I looked at him. Really looked. He was sweating a little. His face flushed from the heat and the beer. His polo shirt had a small stain near the collar. He'd gained weight since I'd seen him last, and behind the teasing, I could see something else, something sharp and worried. He'd bought a house 3 years ago, right before the market shifted. I knew from my mom that he was stretched thin, working overtime, arguing with his wife about money. "I'm doing okay, Matt," I said gently. "I'm just saying you could do better." "By whose standard?" He blinked. "What? Better by whose standard? Yours? Brenda's? I'm trying to help. I know, and I appreciate it, but I'm okay, really." He opened his mouth, closed it, then shrugged and walked away. I felt the tightness in my chest ease slightly. That wasn't the confrontation, not yet, but it was coming. I spent the next hour helping clean up the first wave of lunch debris. Crumpled napkins, greasy paper plates, empty soda cans. Carol had brought actual trash bags instead of using the park's overflowing bins, and I tied them off and hauled them to her van. When I came back, Brenda was standing near the dessert table with 2 other cousins, Lauren, who sold real estate, and Marcus, who did something in finance that I'd never fully understood. They were laughing. "And she's still driving that car," Brenda was saying. "I mean, at what point do you just admit you can't afford—" She saw me and stopped mid-sentence. "Hey," I said. "Oh, hey, we were just talking about car shopping. Lauren's thinking about upgrading." "Cool," I said. Lauren gave me an apologetic smile. "Brenda was just saying your Honda's really held up." "It has," I said. Marcus jumped in. "You know, there are some great lease deals right now if you're ever interested. Low monthly payments, new car every few years. I could send you some links. I'm good, thanks. Suit yourself." His tone was breezy, but his eyes were calculating. "Just seems like you're leaving money on the table, you know? If you invested what you'd save on repairs—" "I don't have repair costs," I said. "I do the basic maintenance. It runs fine. For now," Brenda said. "But at some point, you're gonna sink more into it than it's worth." I felt the familiar heat rising in my face. Not anger, not yet. Just the slow burn of being talked down to, of having my choices picked apart by people who didn't know the first thing about my life. "I'll keep that in mind," I said, and walked away before I said something I'd regret. I found myself back by the creek, muscle memory. The water was still trickling over the stones, indifferent to family dynamics. I crouched down and pressed my palms against the cool dirt. Breathe. I thought about why I lived the way I did. It wasn't about deprivation. It wasn't about being a martyr. It was about making a choice, a conscious, deliberate choice, to take what I didn't need and turn it into something that mattered. I thought about the first time I'd sent money overseas. 7 years ago, a friend from college had posted about a flood in her husband's village in Kerala. Homes destroyed, the school's roof torn off, families sleeping in a community center with nothing but the clothes on their backs. She wasn't asking for money. She was just sharing. But I'd looked at my bank account and thought, I have more than I need right now. What if I sent some? $200. It felt enormous at the time. I'd agonized over it, worried I was being reckless, but I'd sent it. And a week later, my friend sent me a photo of tarps stretched over the school's broken walls, keeping the rain out long enough for the kids to come back. She said my contribution had been part of a group fund that bought 10 tarps, 200 water purification tablets, and a generator for the clinic. I'd stared at that photo for an hour. That's when I understood. It wasn't about being rich. It wasn't about writing a check that made headlines. It was about consistency, about setting aside a little from every paycheck, 10%, sometimes 15%, and watching it compound into something real. A library corner, a water pump, a scholarship for a girl whose parents couldn't afford the school fees. I'd kept it quiet because I'd learned early that talking about it changed things. People got weird. They wanted to debate whether charity worked, or they'd suggest their own pet causes, or they'd make comments about tax deductions. And I didn't want any of that. I just wanted to do the work. But sitting there by the creek, I realized something. The mockery was escalating. And if I didn't say something, not to brag, but to set a boundary, it would keep escalating. They'd keep treating me like a cautionary tale, a punchline, someone who'd missed the memo about how life was supposed to work. I stood up, brushed the dirt off my hands, and walked back to the pavilion. The afternoon had shifted into the long, lazy stretch before dinner. Kids were face down in the grass, exhausted from running. A few adults had started a card game at one of the tables. My mom was napping in her folding chair, mouth slightly open. I grabbed a bottle of water from the cooler and sat down at an empty table, scrolling through my phone. I pulled up my photos, scrolled past the mundane stuff, grocery lists, a funny sign I'd seen on a walk, a sunset from last week, until I found the folder I kept buried 3 layers deep. I didn't look at it often, but it was there. Proof. Not for anyone else, just for me. Photos of the library corner in Pune, a thank you email from a clinic administrator in Uganda, dated 3 months ago, explaining that the new vaccine fridge was keeping medicine stable through power outages. A scanned receipt from a wire transfer, $400 to a microloan fund in Honduras, earmarked for women starting small businesses. A screenshot of a text message from a coordinator in Nepal. The water pump is working. Families don't have to walk 2 hours anymore, thank you. I scrolled through it all slowly, letting it ground me. Then I heard Brenda's voice, louder than before. She was standing near the food table with Marcus, Lauren, and now Matt, and they were all looking at me. I'm just saying, it's weird, Brenda said. She's smart, she works hard, but she's got nothing to show for it. No house, no car worth mentioning, no trips, I don't know, no life, Marcus laughed. Maybe she's secretly rich and just really committed to the bit. Yeah, right, Matt said. If she had money, we'd know. I don't know, she'd do something with it. Maybe she's just bad with money, Lauren said, trying to sound sympathetic and landing somewhere near condescending. Some people are. It's not a moral failing, it's just, I'm not bad with money, I said. They all turned. I was standing 10 feet away, water bottle in hand, phone in my pocket. I wasn't shouting. I wasn't even angry. I was just tired. Oh, we didn't mean, Lauren started. Yes, you did, I said calmly. You've been making comments all day about my car, my job, my clothes, where I live. Brenda crossed her arms. Okay, so where does it go? That's private. Oh, come on. You bring it up and then say it's private? I didn't bring it up. You did. You've been picking apart my life since I got here. Matt held up his hands. Hey, we're just concerned. You're not concerned. You're judging. That's not fair, Marcus said. We're family. We're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to ask. I'm allowed not to answer. Brenda laughed, sharp, disbelieving. So what? You're secretly a millionaire or something? You're telling me you've been sitting on a fortune this whole time and living in a duplex for fun? No, I'm not a millionaire. Then what? I looked at her. At all of them. And I made the choice. I give it away, I said. Silence. You what? Matt said. I give it away. I set aside a percentage of every paycheck and send it to projects. Schools, clinics, clean water, microloans, disaster relief. I've been doing it for 7 years. Brenda stared at me. You're serious? Yes. How much are we talking? Enough. That's not an answer. I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and pulled up the photo of the library corner. I walked over and held it out so they could see. This is a school in India, I said. Rural village. They didn't have a library. Now they do. 8 shelves, 800 books. Cost me about $2,500 over 6 months. They looked at the screen. Lauren leaned in. You paid for this? I helped. There were other donors. But yeah, I covered the shelves and about a third of the books. Marcus frowned. Why wouldn't you just, I don't know, donate to a big charity? One with infrastructure? I do sometimes, but I like knowing where the money goes. I like talking to the people running the projects. I like seeing the photos. And they trust you? Brenda's voice was skeptical. Some random person sending money? I don't do it randomly. I vet projects. I ask questions, follow up. If something doesn't feel right, I walk away. Matt rubbed his face. This is Okay, so you're telling me you've been living like you're broke while sending thousands of dollars overseas? I'm not broke. I have savings. I have an emergency fund. I'm just careful. But why? His voice cracked slightly. Why not save it for yourself, for a house, or retirement, or I am saving for retirement. I have a 401k. I'm not being reckless, Matt. I'm just prioritizing differently than you. Brenda shook her head. I don't buy it. You're saying you'd rather fund some library in, where, Canada, than buy yourself a decent car? Yes, that's insane. No, I said quietly. It's a choice. Lauren jumped in, her real estate agent instincts kicking in. But you have to think about your future. What happens when you're 70 and still renting? I'll deal with it then. That's not a plan, it's my plan. The conversation was starting to draw attention. My mom had woken up and was watching from her chair. Jasmine and Aaron had moved closer. A few other cousins were drifting over, curious. Marcus crossed his arms. Okay, let's say this is real. Let's say you're some kind of, secret philanthropist. I'm not a philanthropist. I'm just someone with a little extra who decided to share it. Fine. Whatever. Prove it. I looked at him. Why do I need to prove anything to you? Because this sounds like a story you're making up to avoid admitting you're broke. I felt the anger then. Real anger. Not the slow burn from earlier. Something sharper. I scrolled through my phone again and pulled up an email. Dated 4 months ago, from a clinic administrator in Uganda named Grace. I held the screen out. This is from a health clinic near Kampala, I said. They needed a new vaccine fridge because the old one kept breaking and they were losing medicines. I sent $600. Grace wrote back to tell me it arrived and it's working. She included a photo of the nurse restocking it. Marcus took my phone and read the email. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. This could be faked, he said, but there was less conviction in his voice. Why would I fake it? I don't know. To look good? To who? You? I wasn't planning on telling you any of this. Brenda grabbed the phone from Marcus and read it herself. Then she scrolled. I saw the moment she realized there were more. Dozens of emails, photos, receipts, 7 years worth of proof, all hidden in a folder I never showed anyone. Holy shit, she said softly. I don't do this for recognition, I said. I do it because I can, and because it matters, and because I'd rather live in a duplex and know that kids in Maharashtra have books than buy a bigger house and wonder what I could have done instead. Matt was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Why didn't you say anything? Because it's not your business. And because people get weird when you talk about money. This isn't just money. This is, he gestured helplessly. This is a lot. It's what I choose to do. My mom appeared at my elbow. She didn't say anything. Just stood there, her hand resting lightly on my arm. Back up. Jasmine spoke up from the edge of the group. Can I see? I handed her my phone. She scrolled slowly, reading. I watched her face change. Surprise, then something softer. Understanding. This is amazing, she said. It's not amazing. It's what makes sense to me. Aaron leaned over Jasmine's shoulder. Is that a water pump? Yeah. Village in Nepal. They were walking 2 hours each way to get clean water. A local engineer designed a system to bring it closer. Cost about $4,000 total, split between 8 donors. And you were one of them? Yeah. Lauren looked at me, her expression complicated. I don't understand why you wouldn't want people to know about this. This is the kind of thing people brag about. I don't want to brag. I want to help. But you could inspire other people to donate, or I could make it about me instead of the work. I've seen that happen. Someone starts talking about their giving and suddenly it's a performance. I didn't want that. Brenda handed my phone back, her hands shaking slightly. I'm sorry. I was really rude earlier. I didn't know. You shouldn't need to know. You should just trust that people have their reasons for living the way they do. I know, She stopped, started again. I get insecure, okay? Jeff's company has been struggling and we're trying to keep up appearances and I see you just existing without all that pressure. And it makes me feel like I'm doing it wrong. I looked at her, saw the cracks in the facade, the exhaustion under the makeup. You're not doing it wrong, I said. You're just doing it differently. But don't take your insecurity out on me. I won't. I'm sorry. Matt was still staring at his shoes. I feel like an asshole. You were being an asshole, but you can stop now. He laughed, surprised. Fair. Marcus cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I think it's impressive. The discipline alone. Thank you. But I still think you should think about buying a house. I smiled despite myself. Noted. The group was starting to break up, people drifting away to process what they'd just heard. but a few stayed. Jasmine handed me back my phone. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. How did you figure out how to do this? Like, how do you know which projects to support?" I sat down at the picnic table and she sat next to me. Erin joined us. So did my mom. "It started small," I said, "a friend's emergency. Then I started looking for other opportunities. I'd read about a need somewhere, a news article, a social media post, someone's blog, and I'd reach out. I'd ask questions. What do you need? Who's managing the money? How will I know it's being used well?" "And people just answer?" Erin asked. "Sometimes. People are overwhelmed and don't have time to write long explanations to a stranger. But the good projects, the ones run by people who really care, they're usually happy to talk. They want you to understand because they want it to work." "What about scams?" Jasmine said. "How do you avoid those?" "I don't always. I've been burned a couple times. Sent money and never heard back. Or realized later the project wasn't real. But mostly you can tell. You ask for specifics. You ask for updates. You trust your gut. And you accept that some risk is part of it." My mom spoke up. "How long have you been doing this?" 7 years. "And I never knew. I didn't want you to worry. I knew you'd think I was being reckless." She shook her head slowly. "I thought you were stuck. I thought you'd given up on wanting more for yourself." "I do want more for myself, just not the things you thought." She squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you." I felt the sting of tears and blinked them back. "Thanks, Ma." Erin leaned forward. "Can I ask, what's the biggest project you've been part of?" I thought about it. There was a scholarship fund in Kenya. A group of us pooled money to cover school fees for girls who couldn't afford it. Uniforms, books, tuition. I think we supported about 20 kids over 3 years. Some of them graduated and went to university. One became a teacher. "How much did you contribute?" "About $8,000 total, over 3 years. So maybe $250 a month, something like that." Jasmine whistled softly. "That's a lot." "It's $50 a week, less than some people spend on coffee. But still." "Yeah, but still." We sat there for a while. The sun was starting to dip, throwing long shadows across the pavilion. Someone had turned the music up, classic rock now, something with a steady beat. I could smell charcoal again. Uncle Frank was firing up the grill for dinner. Erin said, "I think I want to do something like this." "You should. I don't have a lot extra." "You don't need a lot. Even $20 a month adds up. Find something that matters to you and start there. Will you help me? Like, can I ask you questions?" "Of course." Jasmine nodded. "Me too. I've been thinking about it since nursing school. There's a clinic in Guatemala that my professor used to volunteer at. I always meant to donate, but I never did." "Do it," I said. "Even if it's small, it still counts." My mom stood up, brushing grass off her pants. "I'm going to help Carol with dinner. You okay?" "Yeah." She kissed the top of my head and walked away. I watched her go, grateful. The rest of the evening unfolded in pieces. Dinner was quieter than lunch. People were tired, the heat had broken, and there was a different energy in the air. Less performance, more presence. Brenda sat across from me and asked careful questions about how I chose projects. Matt offered to help me carry leftovers to my car. Marcus cornered me by the drinks cooler and asked if I'd ever thought about setting up a fund so other people could contribute. "No," I said. "This isn't about building something big. It's about staying connected to the work. But you could scale." "I don't want to scale. I want to stay small enough that I can see the faces and know the names." He nodded slowly. "That's a different approach. It works for me." As the sun set, people started packing up. Kids were loaded into car seats, leftovers divided into takeaway containers, folding chairs collapsed and stacked. I helped Carol carry her crock-pot back to the van. She hugged me hard. "Your mother told me a little of what you said," she murmured. "I think it's wonderful." "I think you're wonderful." "Thanks, Aunt Carol. And I'm sorry if anyone made you feel small today." "It's okay. It's not. But thank you for handling it with grace." I hugged her back and went to find my own car. The gravel crunched under my feet. The air smelled like summer ending, cooler, tinged with the first hint of fall. I unlocked the Honda, tossed the grocery bag of leftover chips in the back seat, and sat in the driver's seat with the door open, feet on the gravel. Jasmine appeared with a folded piece of paper. "I wrote down that clinic in Guatemala. Can you help me figure out how to contact them?" "Yeah. Text me tomorrow. We'll figure it out." She smiled. "Thanks. And hey, for what it's worth, I always thought you were doing something right. I just didn't know what." "That's kind of you." I mean it. She waved and headed back toward the pavilion. I sat there a little longer, watching the last of the family load up and drive away. The park was emptying out. A maintenance worker was already making the rounds, checking trash cans, turning off lights. The banner sagged between its posts, one corner coming loose. My phone buzzed. An email. I opened it without thinking. It was from a project coordinator in Honduras, a woman named Marta who ran a microloan program for women starting small businesses. I'd sent $500 3 months ago as part of a group fund. The email was short. Hola, I wanted to update you. Rosa's tamale business is doing well. She has paid back half her loan already and hired her neighbor to help her. Maria's sewing shop is steady. She made school uniforms for 12 families this month. Beatrice is struggling a little because of supply costs, but we are working with her. Thank you for believing in them. Attached are photos from our quarterly meeting. I opened the attachment. 6 women sitting around a table in someone's living room. Paperwork spread out in front of them, all of them smiling. Rosa was on the left. I recognized her from the first photo Marta had sent, the one where she was standing next to a folding table with a handwritten sign that said, Tamales de Rosa. I saved the photo to my folder and closed the email. This was why. Not for the thanks, though the thanks were nice. Not for the recognition, because there wasn't any and I didn't want it. But for this, for knowing that somewhere in Honduras, a woman named Rosa was selling tamales and paying back her loan and hiring her neighbor. For knowing that the small, unglamorous choice to live in a duplex and drive an old car and skip the fancy vacations meant that real people were building real lives. I started the engine. The Honda turned over on the first try. Same as always, I pulled out of the parking lot and headed home, the sunset streaking the sky pink and orange behind me. When I got back to the duplex, I made myself a cup of tea and sat on the porch. The street was quiet. A dog barking somewhere, kids on bikes racing before curfew, the soft hum of cicadas starting up. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the folder one more time. Not because I needed proof, but because I wanted to remember. The library corner in Pune, the vaccine fridge in Uganda, the water pump in Nepal, the scholarship recipients in Kenya, Rosa's tamales in Honduras. 7 years of small decisions that added up to something I couldn't quite name but could feel in my chest. Solid, real, mine. My phone buzzed again. A text from Matt. Hey, I'm sorry about today. I was out of line. I typed back, it's okay, we're good. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever regret it? Living like this? I thought about it for a long time before I answered. Number. I regret that it took me so long to start. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, that's fair. Thanks for not making me feel like more of an idiot than I already did. You're not an idiot. You just didn't understand. Now you do. Yeah. Hey, if I wanted to get involved, like help with one of your projects, would that be okay? I smiled. Let me think about it. I'll send you some options. Cool, thanks. I set the phone down and finished my tea. The sky was deepening to purple now, stars starting to poke through. Somewhere down the street, someone was grilling. I could smell charcoal and meat exactly like the park earlier. Full circle. I thought about what came next. There was a clinic in the Philippines that needed a generator, a school in Senegal that wanted to build a computer lab, a disaster relief fund in Ecuador collecting money for families displaced by flooding. I had a list in a notebook inside, projects I was watching, places I was asking questions, connections I was building, and now maybe I had help. Jasmine wanted to get involved. Aaron was asking questions. Even Matt, in his clumsy way, was reaching out. I didn't want to turn this into something big and complicated. That wasn't the point. But maybe I could show a few people how to do it themselves, how to set aside a little, how to ask the right questions, how to stay small and stay connected and still make a difference. I thought about what I'd say to them. Keep it simple. Start with what you can afford. Find something that speaks to you, not because it's trendy or because everyone's talking about it, but because it tugs at something real inside you. Then commit. Not forever, not with everything you have, but enough that it matters, enough that you feel it. And when people ask why you live the way you do, you don't owe them an explanation. But if you choose to give one, make sure it's on your terms. Make sure it's the truth. I went inside and opened my laptop. I had a draft email to Marta sitting in my outbox. Just a quick note asking how the microloan meeting went, if there were any new businesses starting up, if the fund needed another contribution. I finished it, added a line congratulating Rosa on her progress, and hit send. Then I opened a new tab and pulled up the clinic in the Philippines. I read through their latest update. The old generator had finally died completely. They were running on backup power. Surgeries were being delayed. They needed $4,000. They had a quote from a local supplier, a timeline, a plan for maintenance. I looked at my bank account. I'd been saving for this, setting aside a little extra each month, picking up a few freelance data projects, skipping the occasional dinner out. I had $2,800 earmarked for the next project. Not enough for the whole generator, but enough to get it started. I filled out the donation form. In the comments section, I wrote, "For the generator fund. Let me know if you need help finding other donors to cover the rest. Happy to connect you with people." I clicked submit and watched the confirmation screen load. Your donation of $2,800 has been received. Thank you for supporting our work. I closed the laptop and sat back. My duplex was quiet. The fridge hummed in the kitchen. Through the wall, I could hear my neighbor's TV, some game show, canned laughter. Normal, simple, enough. I thought about Brenda's question from earlier. Don't you ever want more? The answer was yes. I did want more. I wanted more libraries, more clean water, more scholarships, more generators, more women like Rosa building businesses that fed their families and hired their neighbors. I wanted more of that feeling I got when I opened an email and saw a photo of something I'd helped make real. But a bigger house, a newer car, a kitchen renovation, I didn't need those things to feel whole. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. And when I woke up the next morning, I made my coffee on the same old coffee maker I'd had for 6 years, drank it on the same porch in the same duplex, and checked my email. There was a message from the clinic in the Philippines. They'd received my donation and wanted to let me know they'd found 2 other donors willing to split the remaining cost. The generator would be ordered by the end of the week. I read the email twice, then saved the confirmation to my folder. Then I got ready for work. The next few weeks were different. Not dramatically. I still went to the same job, lived in the same place, drove the same car. But there was a shift. Small, internal, the kind you feel more than see. Jasmine texted me 3 times asking questions about the Guatemala clinic. I sent her the contact information and helped her draft an introductory email. A week later, she sent me a screenshot of her first donation, $50. "I know it's not much," she wrote. "It's everything," I wrote back. Aaron reached out too. He wanted to do something connected to education. He'd been teaching long enough to see how much need there was. I sent him information about a scholarship program in rural Mississippi that helped high school seniors cover application fees and testing costs. He started contributing monthly. Even Matt followed through. He sent me an awkward email asking if there were any projects that needed skilled labor or logistical help instead of money, because he was pretty tapped out financially. I connected him with a disaster relief organization that was always looking for volunteers to help coordinate supply shipments. He signed up for a training and started logging hours on weekends. I didn't make a big deal out of any of it. I just sent information when people asked, answered questions when they came up, and let people figure out their own path. This wasn't about recruiting. It was about showing that it was possible. At work, nothing changed. I still processed housing applications, updated spreadsheets, answered the phone, but I found myself more patient with people who called frustrated or confused. I understood, in a way I hadn't before, that everyone was fighting their own version of this, trying to figure out how to make their money stretch, how to take care of their family, how to survive in a system that wasn't built for them. One afternoon, a woman called about her application. She'd been denied because her income was $3 over the eligibility threshold. $3. She was crying on the phone. I spent 40 minutes helping her find another program, one with a slightly higher threshold. I walked her through the application. I sent her a list of food banks and utility assistance programs. And when we hung up, I sat at my desk and thought about how fragile everything was, how close so many people were to falling through the cracks. That night, I found a fund that helped cover emergency rent payments for families facing eviction. I set up a monthly donation, $30, about what I spent on coffee in a month if I wasn't careful. The generator in the Philippines was installed in early September. The clinic sent photos. A boxy metal unit sitting on a concrete pad, cables running into the building, a small plaque thanking the donors. My name wasn't on the plaque. I'd asked them not to include it, but I saved the photo anyway. The scholarship recipients in Kenya started sending updates. 3 of the girls had graduated and were applying to university. 1 wanted to study nursing. 1 wanted to be a teacher. 1 wanted to study agriculture and help her family's farm. I read their essays, short paragraphs about their dreams, their families, their villages, and I cried at my kitchen table. I sent another contribution, $500. enough to cover application fees and first semester books for all three. In October, my mom invited me to lunch. We met at a diner near her house. Vinyl booths, laminated menus, coffee that tasted like it had been sitting on the burner for 3 hours. She ordered a tuna melt. I got a grilled cheese. I've been thinking about what you said at the reunion, she started. Okay. And I realize I've spent a lot of years worrying about the wrong things. I looked up from my coffee. What do you mean? I worried about you not having a house, not having a fancy job, not having, I don't know, the things I thought you were supposed to want. And all that time, you were doing something I didn't even know how to imagine. Mom, let me finish. She smiled. I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you figured out what mattered to you and you did it, even when it meant people didn't understand. That takes guts. Thanks. And I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you had to explain yourself. You didn't. Not really. Still, I should have trusted you. We ate in silence for a bit, and she said, I want to help. I set down my sandwich. What? I want to contribute. One of your projects. I have some savings, and I'd like to put it towards something good. Mom, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Tell me what needs help. I thought about it. There's a community center in Appalachia that runs a food pantry and an after-school program. They're trying to raise money for a new roof before winter. I need about $8,000 total, and they're halfway there. How much would make a difference? Anything. $500 would help. 1,000 would make a real dent. She pulled out her phone. Send me the information. I'll do 1,000. Are you sure? I'm sure. She looked at me over the top of her reading glasses. You've been doing this alone for 7 years. It's time you had some company. I sent her the information right there at the table. She donated on her phone while we finished our sandwiches. When the confirmation screen loaded, she showed it to me like a kid showing off a good report card. There, done. I felt something loosen in my chest. Relief, maybe, or just the simple comfort of being understood. Thank you, I said. Thank you for showing me how. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Brenda called me. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't talked since the reunion, and I wasn't sure what there was left to say, but curiosity won out. Hey, I said. Hey. Her voice was tentative. Do you have a minute? Sure. I wanted to tell you something. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about how I was taking my insecurity out on you. You were right. I was. Okay. And I've been thinking about why, and I realized, God, this is embarrassing. I realized I've been spending all this money trying to look successful instead of actually being successful. Like, we renovated the kitchen 3 times because I was so worried about what people would think. And meanwhile, we're drowning in debt, and I'm stressed all the time. And Jeff's working 80 hours a week, and we barely see each other. I didn't say anything. Just let her talk. So we're making some changes, she continued. We sold Jeff's car. The lease was killing us. We're cutting back on a lot of the stuff we didn't need, and we're going to pay down the debt. It's going to take a while, but I don't know. I feel lighter already. That's great, Brenda. And I wanted to ask, once we get our heads above water, can you help me figure out how to do what you do? Like, I don't have a lot extra right now, but maybe someday I will. And I'd like to do something that matters. Of course, I said. Anytime. Thanks. And I'm really sorry for everything I said. I know. It's okay. It's not, but thank you for saying so. We talked for a few more minutes about nothing. Kids, her job, the weather, normal stuff. When we hung up, I realized I didn't feel angry anymore, just tired, and maybe a little hopeful. Thanksgiving was quieter than the reunion, just immediate family at my mom's house. Me, Matt, my mom, and my Aunt Carol. No drama, no comments about my car or my clothes, just food and football and the easy rhythm of people who'd learned how to be kind to each other. After dinner, Matt pulled me aside. I've been doing that volunteer thing, he said. The disaster relief coordination. Yeah? How's it going? It's good. Hard, but good. Makes me feel like I don't know, like I'm doing something useful. You are. And it's made me think about how I've been living. Like, I've been so focused on the house and the car and keeping up with everyone, and I forgot to think about what actually makes me happy. What makes you happy? Thought about it. Helping people. Building things. Being useful. Not just, he gestured vaguely, not just accumulating stuff. It's a good realization. Yeah, better late than never, I guess. He smiled. Thanks for not writing me off as a lost cause. You were never a lost cause. Just loud. He laughed. Fair. As winter set in, I fell into a rhythm. Work during the day, emails and research in the evening. Small donations every month, split between ongoing projects and new needs. I kept my folder updated. Photos, receipts, thank you notes. Not for anyone else, just for me. A record of what was possible when you chose to care. A clinic in Uganda sent a 6-month update. Vaccine fridge was still working perfectly. They'd been able to expand their immunization program and reach 3 more villages. Infant mortality was down. Grace sent a photo of the nursing staff standing in front of the clinic, all of them smiling. The library corner in Pune sent a photo of the kids dressed up for a reading festival. They'd made costumes, characters from the books on the shelves. There was a girl in the front dressed as an astronaut, a cardboard helmet slightly crooked. The teacher wrote, "She wants to go to space someday." She told me she learned about astronauts from a book in the magic corner. The scholarship recipients in Kenya sent their university acceptance letters. All 3 had been admitted. They were starting in January. Rosa in Honduras sent a photo of her new tamale cart, a real cart with wheels and a professional sign, not just a folding table. Marta wrote she paid back her full loan in 8 months. Now she is saving to expand. I printed some of the photos and put them in a small album I kept on my bookshelf. Not for show. I never had people over. It's for me. For the nights when I was tired and wondered if any of it mattered. It mattered. On Christmas Eve, I sat on my porch with a mug of tea and looked at the lights on my neighbor's house. Modest white string lights outlining the door and windows. Simple, pretty. My phone buzzed. A text from Jasmine. The Guatemala clinic just sent me photos of the new exam table I helped fund. I'm crying. Thank you for helping me figure out how to do this. I texted back. You did it yourself. I just showed you the door. Still, thank you. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I put the phone down and finished my tea. The new year came quietly. No resolutions, no big plans. Just the same steady work. Another month. Another project. The generator in the Philippines was running smoothly. The community center in Appalachia had gotten their new roof. Scholarship fund in Kenya was looking for donors for the next round of students. I kept my head down and kept going. In late January, I got an email from a coordinator in Sri Lanka. The school had been damaged in a storm. The roof partially collapsed. Windows broken. Desks destroyed. They needed help rebuilding. The estimate was $12,000. I stared at the number. It was more than I'd ever contributed to a single project, more than I had saved right now. But I thought about the astronaut girl in Pune, the nursing students in Kenya, Rosa's tamales in Honduras. I replied, I can contribute $3,000. Let me see if I can find other donors to help cover the rest. I sent the project information to my mom, to Jasmine, to Aaron, to Matt. I posted it in a small online group I'd joined. Other quiet donors. People who kept their giving private, but liked to coordinate on bigger needs. Within a week, we had $8,000 committed. By the end of the month, we had the full $12,000. School in Sri Lanka started rebuilding in February. They sent progress photos every week, cleared debris, new framing, fresh paint. By March, it was done. They sent a photo of the first day back. Kids streaming through the new door, backpacks bouncing, smiles everywhere. I saved the photo to my folder. That's when I understood something I'd been circling for years. This wasn't about the money. It was about the choice to see a need and meet it, to take what you had, even if it was small, even if it felt insufficient, and turn it into something real. And it was about trust. Trusting that the world was full of people doing good work who just needed a little support. Trusting that your contribution mattered, even if you never saw the full picture. Trusting that kindness compounded, same as cruelty, and that you got to choose which one you fed. I didn't need a bigger house to make that choice. I didn't need a newer car or a fancier job or recognition from people who didn't understand. I just needed to keep showing up. Keep setting aside what I could, asking questions and building connections and saying yes when it mattered. In April, my mom and I drove out to the state park where the reunion had been. We brought sandwiches and sat at one of the picnic tables near the creek. The water was higher now, fed by spring rain, rushing over the stones with real force. "You ever regret it?" she asked. Telling them? I thought about it. No, it needed to be said. They needed to hear it. It changed things. Yeah. For the better, I think. She nodded. Jasmine told me she's been donating every month. And Matt's talking about going on one of those volunteer trips, actually going to one of the sites and helping with the work. I heard. That's because of you. It's because of them. I just showed them it was possible. We sat in silence, listening to the creek. And my mom said, "What's next?" "There's a clean water project in Tanzania that looks promising, and a school in rural Mississippi that needs computers for their library. And I've been talking to someone about micro-loans in the Philippines, similar to what Marta does in Honduras." "You're going to keep doing this forever, aren't you?" I smiled. "As long as I can." "Good." She squeezed my hand. "The world needs more people like you. The world needs more people like us," I corrected. "You're part of this now, too." "I guess I am." We finished our sandwiches and walked down to the creek. I crouched down and dipped my fingers in the water. Still cold, still clean, still exactly what it needed to be. I thought about that first donation 7 years ago. $200 for tarps and water tablets. How terrified I'd been that I was making a mistake. Even then, that was the right thing to do. And I thought about where that choice had led. Not to wealth or recognition or applause, but to connect, to purpose, to a life that felt full in ways I'd never expected. I stood up and brushed off my hands. "Ready to go?" my mom asked. "Yeah." We walked back to the car together. The sun was warm on my shoulders. Grass was green and new. And somewhere across the world, kids were sitting in a library corner reading books. A clinic had power when they needed it. A woman was selling tamales from a real cart. They called it simple. I called it enough to share. If you're still here, thanks for listening. And I'll meet you in the comments. Your voice matters.